We used to talk about climate change as something in the future, but it's with us now.
We must move fast.
This is 0 hour to act on climate change.
Human beings and the natural world are on a collision course.
The world is on track to be unlivable.
The anxiety was eating me.
The largest segment is either not very or fairly just a little bit concerned.
This is not a drill.
I used to have to go out and search the past few years to find all the slides I'd need for a presentation.
I can tell you that Californians are feeling the pain right now.
I can now go all within 2018 and find what I need.
We have been seeing in the last decades droughts. The summer season is becoming hotter and longer and drier.
When forests get dry, they burn. California earlier this year, Greece, Japan not known for its wildfires, Siberia, Canada, the United Kingdom, again in California, still burning.
It's crucial that we who understand the urgency start to act.
I say get angry, get very angry.
There's an insane focus on just more and more and more, and that is killing us.
Humanity is always much too slow in reacting.
Do something about it. Take action.
Because if we run, others will follow.
Do you really want to stop the effects of climate change, global warming and rising sea levels? Because there's a big problem here, a huge problem, a gigantic mistake we are making right now. Why are the politicians around the world wanting to spend trillions of taxpayer dollars on trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050? We have to stop this nonsense and start using the only solution that can save the planet from rising sea levels. It's called the Global Shelf Ice Maker System. It's been out for a while now, and we have to start getting serious about it. Achieving net zero carbon emissions by next year, let alone 2050, will not achieve anything except give some people better air to breathe. It won't stop climate change because climate change is already here. The ice is already melting at the poles like a runaway train, and it can't be stopped. And the sea levels around the world are on the rise because of it. The damage climate change has already caused is catastrophic. Many communities have already had to spend billions of dollars to try and stop these rising sea levels. I'll explain it to you like this. Trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions is like someone left the barn door open, which let out all the animals, and now the people are trying to stop the barn door from opening again, even though there are no animals left to keep in. While at the same time the animals are already destroying the crops in every farm they go to, creating costly damage and havoc everywhere. Carbon emissions created climate change and global warming. That's the same as opening the barn door. The damage being created by climate change today is like the animals stomping all over the crops and destroying the livelihood of the farmers. Except that the damage caused by climate change is so much worse.
In our lifetime, human beings left behind the Holocene, this 10,000-year period of benign climatic stability that coincides with the rise of human civilization. We have crossed a great threshold, and we stand on the edge of others.
I remember when the Weather Channel was this kind of like nice, sleepy little station. Now it's like a horror show. The climate is being disrupted. That's not for next year or 1,000 years from now. That's happening right now.
What all climate scientists will agree on is that the entire atmosphere has changed. All the atmospheric dynamics have changed. So every event that happens now is in the context of climate change. It's different from how it would have been. Think about, the litany of impacts from sea level rise, ocean acidification, the collapse of ecosystems that we rely on for food, water availability. These things are really expensive. When you have huge wildfires, it costs a lot of money. All of those costs are being dumped onto us as a society and not being paid by people who are polluting.
typhoon slammed the Philippines with winds of 195 miles per hour. That's higher than the winds from Hurricanes Sandy and Katrina combined.
The world is mobilizing to help the Philippines, but just a trickle of food and water and medicine has reached the victims of Typhoon Haiyan.
More than 1 million people were forced to flee their homes, many now trying to salvage what's left.
Hundreds of thousands are thronging relief centers, desperate for life's necessities.
Many residents covered their faces to mask the smell of the dead while they searched for relatives in some of the hardest hit areas.
This is one of the top storms ever seen on this planet.
Mr. President, Your Excellency, what my country is going through as a result of this extreme climate event is madness. Super Typhoon Haiyan made landfall in my own family's hometown. And the devastation is staggering. I struggle to find words to describe how I feel about the losses. To anyone outside who continues to deny and ignore the reality that is climate change, I dare them to get off their ivory towers and away from the comfort of their armchairs. I dare them to go to the islands of the Pacific. We refuse as a nation to accept a future where super typhoons like Haiyan become a way of life. We refuse to accept that running away from storms, evacuating our families, counting our dead become a way of life. We simply refuse to. We can fix this. We can stop this madness.
Trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions is like saying you don't care about the damage being created by climate change, and that you only really care about what it looks like in the media, what it looks like in the news, just so it looks like you're doing something. The problems of the ice melting in the Arctic and Antarctica is happening today, right now, and will continue long into the future until there is no ice left because the melting cannot be stopped. It is causing devastating rising sea levels. It has caused hundreds of millions of people to become climate refugees due to their land drying up, and it's getting worse every year. Also, we are now experiencing forest fires like never before seen on this planet, and the list goes on and on and on. Many communities are already spending billions of dollars each on defending themselves against these rising sea levels by building levees and dam walls and many other types of defences. Achieving net zero carbon emissions by next year will not stop the ice melting in the Arctic or Antarctica. It will not stop rising sea levels from continuing. The melting ice in the Arctic and Antarctica, which is already creating devastating rising sea levels around the world, will continue to happen because, as you already know, scientists are telling us that it is now a runaway train and cannot be stopped. They are saying that the melting of the ice in the Arctic and Antarctica is happening on such a large scale that it cannot be stopped. So by achieving net zero carbon emissions by next year, let alone 2050, will not stop the ice melting in the Arctic and Antarctica. It will not stop rising sea levels from continuing. Climate change is happening right now, not in the future. The damage caused by climate change is already catastrophic, and it's getting worse every year. In the bigger picture, it doesn't matter about net zero carbon emissions. It doesn't matter that the barn door is open. It only matters about fixing the problems of climate change that are causing the damage right now, such as the melting of the ice in the Arctic and Antarctica, which in turn is raising sea levels to the point where tidal flooding is almost an everyday occurrence in many parts of the world right now. Catastrophic damage causing many communities around the world, as I mentioned, to try and stop any more damage happening in their communities from these rising sea levels. Climate change is here, and it's happening right now, not in the future. We have to get the politicians of the world to understand that spending trillions of taxpayer dollars on trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions is a complete waste of time, money, effort and resources. We have to stop this nonsense and start using the only solution that can save the planet from rising sea levels. As I mentioned, it's called the Global Shelf Ice Maker System, and we have to start getting serious about it. And on the other side to this achieving net zero carbon emissions, if we did close down all the coal-fired power stations around the world and everyone stopped driving their cars, trucks, buses and tractors by next year, and that includes you, this would not achieve zero carbon emissions. Because from what I understand, cattle and other animals contribute up to 25% of carbon emissions, which means to reach net zero carbon emissions, we will have to eliminate the entire food supply of cattle and other animals. And since that is not an option, achieving net zero carbon emissions is completely impossible anyway, which means it can't be achieved no matter what we do, because that 25% will always continue to heat up the atmosphere, which will always continue to make things worse. But let's say we did achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The only thing it will achieve, the only thing it will do, will give some people better air to breathe. It won't do anything else. It won't cool the temperature of the atmosphere. It won't fix up any of the problems of climate change. Achieving net zero carbon emissions will not stop the temperature from continually rising, because nothing is being done to cool the temperature of the atmosphere. And since cattle and other animals could be contributing up to 25% of carbon emissions, then the temperature will always continue to rise over time. And remember, the ice melting in the Arctic and Antarctica is already a runaway train and cannot be stopped. So as temperatures rise, the melting process will increase, because as you already know in general, the hotter the temperature, the faster ice melts. So just one of the things we have to do to fix the problems of climate change is to fix the major problems of the melting ice. Not continue to use up all of our resources on trying to achieve absolutely nothing by working towards achieving these useless net zero carbon emission targets. We have to start using the only solution that can save the planet from rising sea levels. We need to build the Global Shelf Ice Maker system now, and we have to start convincing the governments to build it. There is no other way to save this planet from the devastation of climate change. We need to have a wake-up call. We have to understand that fixing the problems of the effects of climate change, global warming and rising sea levels needs a different approach. We have to approach these massive problems in a very different way, because the ice melting in the Arctic and Antarctica is already creating devastating rising sea levels, and these sea levels will continue to rise over time, affecting more and more places around the world because the ice is melting so fast now that it can't be stopped. And then of course there are the hurricanes and cyclones. These storms get worse every year because sea levels are rising. Any given storm will produce more flooding and more damage because the storm surge starts at that higher baseline because of higher sea levels, which gives them the ability to move further inland, creating more costly damage. We have to start using common sense. We have to start focusing on what is important and fix up the major problems of the melting ice in the Arctic and Antarctica. We have to get the politicians around the world to forget about trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions. We have to get behind and support the building of the Global Shelf Ice Maker system and actually fix the problems of climate change. We have to start getting serious about this. The Global Shelf Ice Maker system will add new ice to the Arctic and Antarctica, while at the same time lower sea levels around the world. And over a 20-year time frame, this will restabilise the planet's climate, as well as giving total control of the height of sea levels to mankind forever, so that climate change will never ever happen again. There is no other solution, and trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions is just pie in the sky. It will achieve nothing in relation to the effects of climate change except make things much worse than what they are today, because the politicians around the world will be using up all of our resources unnecessarily on just trying to look good in the media. Making people believe that they're doing something about climate change by saying they are trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions just so that it can look good in the media is as bad as it can get, because in reality what they are doing is continuing to let climate change destroy the planet for the future, as well as using up all of our financial resources. The Global Shelf Ice Maker system is the only solution that can fix the problems of climate change and global warming, because it does the one thing needed to fix the problem. It replaces the melted ice in the Arctic and Antarctica, while at the same time lowering sea levels around the world. So how does it work? How does this invention refreeze the Arctic and Antarctica? I'll explain it to you in this way. There are many boats like fishing trawlers in the world that take on water as a natural occurrence of the design of the boat. And so the process is simply to continue to pump out the water as it comes in, or the boat will eventually sink. They use bilge pumps to do this every second of every day. Our entire planet Earth is our boat, and we are all in it, and we are letting the boat fill up with water and not do anything about it. Some people in some parts of the boat are trying to stop the water coming into their little area of the boat by building dikes and dam walls, etc. However, eventually the water will overcome these dikes and dam walls because they are still in the boat, and the boat doesn't stop taking on water. Eventually the boat will have too much water in it and it will sink. The only way to stop the boat from eventually sinking is to start pumping out the water to a level where it is no longer a threat. So the question is, how can we pump the water out of the ocean and refreeze this water and turn it into ice again on a planetary scale? Scientists are telling us that over Greenland, for instance, in areas where there is snow, the snow adds onto the ice pack and does not melt. The actual melting is happening below the ice glaciers where it's warmer. So nature's process is very simple. It freezes from the top and melts from the bottom, or the edges. It's been that way since day one. However, things have changed over the last 10 years, and the ice is now melting on top of the ice in some areas as well. And the longer we leave it, the worse it's going to get. So if we use this same understanding of how nature works, we will realise that by putting more water on top of these areas for freezing, we can actually help Mother Nature to keep the process continuing indefinitely. To do this, if we want, we can induce more snow to happen, or we can take a direct approach. We can go directly to making ice from water. We can actually bring the water to where nature can freeze it for us. So with this in mind, our target goal is to make more ice out of the water again and allow nature to do it for us. I call it the Global Shelf Ice Maker System. This will be our bilge pump for our boat, the planet Earth. You can understand it this way. A standard fishing trawler uses a bilge pump to pump water out of the boat. However, in nature uses evaporation to make rain and snow to turn water into ice, in order to keep the oceans at a reasonable level. And so evaporation, which turns into rain and snow, that is simply nature's bilge pump. Unfortunately, Mother Nature can't do its job efficiently anymore because of global warming. It seems there is more ice melting now a lot faster than there is water freezing. Mother Nature is out of balance a little. Mother Nature needs a little bit of help to get back on track, and is desperately asking us for it by giving us some pain with natural disasters and showing us exactly what the problem is, like major storm surges which inundate entire communities, beach erosion on such a large scale that many thousands of homes all around the world have been completely destroyed, and whole islands completely disappearing due to these rising sea levels, as well as hundreds of millions of people being displaced from their land because it has all dried up and can no longer support them. And the list keeps going. So we must start using common sense and help Mother Nature on a global scale before it's too late. Because the Global Shelf Ice Maker System does have a use-by date. There will come a time in the future when the Global Shelf Ice Maker System can no longer work. So we have to use it soon before it's too late. How the Global Shelf Ice Maker System works is quite simple. We run a pipeline from a water source, the ocean, to where it's cold enough to freeze seawater instantly. We then spray the water out in small particles of water, and it turns into ice instantly. This ice then adds on to the ice glacier it falls onto, and because the temperature is below 5 degrees below zero, it does not melt. And the more water we turn into ice, the less water is available for raising the sea levels around the world. This bilge pump system, which is the global shelf ice maker system, keeps pumping water 24/7 and continues to make ice indefinitely. And we could continue to put enough shelf ice back onto the ice pack and one day get to a point where we could actually control and maintain precise sea levels around the world on a daily basis. The global shelf ice maker system has the ability to lower sea levels by 1 full metre in less than a 20-year time frame. And if we were to come together from around the world and work together as a team, we could actually do this. And one bit of knowledge that can prove this is that the higher the ice pack becomes, the colder the air is at that level. And so the more water from the global shelf ice maker system that can be added onto the ice pack. There is no limit to how much water we can add to Greenland and Antarctica to reach our final goal of reducing sea levels back to where they were in the 1950s. And if we go high enough, global warming will not be a threat to this new ice we are adding and creating. Rising sea levels are a global problem and they need a global solution. The most difficult problem we have is getting governments from all over the world to work together as one and to work towards achieving a unified goal. Because without a unified goal, there will still be tensions around the world creating more havoc. Although I must say, there has never been another time in history that we were as close to being able to do that as we are right now. So that's in our favour. Because over the last 30 years or so, there have been many global events that have brought people together with the unified goal of reducing carbon emissions. Such as the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in '92, the Kyoto Protocol in '99, the Paris Climate Agreement of 2015, the Student Climate Action Strikes, and the many climate summit talks that go on every year. I've also noticed there seems to be more people aware of global warming and have been participating in more projects over the last 20 years than ever before. I just saw a video of an inspiring young lady by the name of Greta Thunberg. I think she explains things much better than me when she said,
"We deserve a safe future. And we demand a safe future. Is that really too much to ask?"
And so, I believe this is now the time to move forward. This is the time to come together as one people of one planet. This is the time for us all to forget about our individual nationalities and to come together as one family, as people of the earth. To move forward and grow up a little in our evolutionary progress. To come together and join forces with people all around the world and to save the planet from rising sea levels for the future of all life on this planet. We need your help. The only problem we have in being able to apply this invention to help mankind is getting politicians from around the world to come together and work together as a team to make it happen. Because the problem of rising sea levels is a global problem, not a local problem. And it will require the efforts of many governments around the world coming together and working together with this invention to solve the problems of rising sea levels. And since the politicians around this world need to be pushed into doing something that they don't normally do, what we would like to do is to push them a little bit by creating a worldwide voice. We would like to start a very powerful petition that brings everyone from around the entire world together on one project. We call it the Climate Change Action Petition. I'd like you to join me and help me make the politicians of this world sit up and listen. I'd like you to help me make this petition have the most powerful voice of any petition in history. And you can do this just by becoming a member, putting your name on the Climate Change Action Petition, and spreading the word about this video to everyone you know. The Global Shelf Ice Maker System website has been designed specifically to show the politicians that the building of the Global Shelf Ice Maker System is what we all want, and that it is going to be the cheapest, the best, and the only option out there. If we all make the Global Shelf Ice Maker System the most important thing in the world, then this will be the focus of change, because the unwritten law of reality is quite simple. We can't change the future in the future. We can only change it now because now is the only time we have. And there is also something very important I would like you all to realise. We will only ever experience what we are willing to pursue. I remember as a child back in the 1960s, we didn't have electricity, and our so-called fridge was simply an upright esky, which was made by a company called Kelvinator, I think. Twice per week, the iceman who drove a horse and cart would come around and fill up the icebox in the fridge with a big block of ice. This is how we kept our food cold. Our planet is like this old fridge from my childhood. There is a place where ice is sitting, the Arctic and Antarctica, which is nature's icebox. The ice in this icebox cools down the winds as they pass over, and then this colder wind keeps the rest of the planet cool, just like the ice did in that fridge. As we all know, the ice is melting in the Arctic and in Antarctica, and for some reason we don't want to seem to do anything about it. Our behaviour is coming across like we seem to think that by minimising the hot air around the ice, this ice will somehow last longer, and then all we have to do is to try and deal with the consequences of that melting ice. Well, I don't want to insult you or anything, but that's just pathetic. Can you imagine how long Kelvinator would have lasted as a business if they only ever created this fridge as a one-time use? And yet that is how we are treating our planet and the ice in the Arctic and Antarctica. We seem to be saying that this is a one-time deal, that when all of the ice melts, that's the end of it, and from then on we are doomed and there is nothing we can do about it. Well, let me tell you right now, get some common sense, grow up and realise that we have to put the ice back onto the ice shelves of the Arctic and Antarctica, just like we replaced the ice in that fridge with new ice when I was a child. I don't know about you, but I want to keep the planet in good condition, and that means all of us coming together as one family, coming together as one species of one planet, working together as one species of one planet, and doing a little bit of maintenance for the planet we call our home. And to do this, to keep it in good health. As the single dominant species of this planet, we need to stop the hatred, stop being angry, stop the violence, and stop all the petty violent wars. We need to grow up as a species. We have to stop killing each other and come together as one people if we are to survive the negligent behaviour of our industrialised way of living. We need to come together and work together as one species of one planet and do the maintenance that's required. I'm willing to do the maintenance it requires to do that. I hope you are too. And that means coming together as one team, one family, and putting more ice back into the icebox. Putting more ice back onto the ice shelves of the Arctic and Antarctica. I was involved in talking about carbon emissions and global warming with other people back in 1982. However, it wasn't until 17 years later in 1999 that the first serious worldwide meeting was held in Kyoto, Japan. Every meeting before this failed in its attempt to do anything, and in 2001 the US withdrew from the Kyoto Protocol. We don't have that amount of time anymore. We can't wait another 17 years to go by again before governments come together and talk about building the global shelf ice maker system. We need action now. We need to do something now before it's too late. I'll put it to you like this. What I've personally noticed is that all of these glaciers are all on a downhill slant toward the ocean, because the ice always forms on top of the mountains. That's one of the reasons why these glaciers are travelling toward the ocean and breaking apart. And like anything that starts rolling downhill, it starts off moving slowly and then begins to move faster and faster the further it travels. If you think scientists know how fast these glaciers are going to be moving in just 20 years' time, you are kidding yourself. 120 years ago, there were many glaciers that used to move at only 4 inches per year into the sea. As time went on, these glaciers continued to increase their speed of movement. By 1960, it became inches per month. Then it became metres per month. Then it became metres per day. Today, there are already many glaciers around the world that are now breaking off into the sea at metres per hour. And some of them have a front that are many kilometres long. And there are also some glaciers now moving at 40 metres per day. Now, does this mean that in 20 years' time, could it be metres per second? I hope not, because when that time comes, it will probably be too late to do anything about it. And it has become so bad in Greenland today that Greenland has now reached the stage of losing ice at the rate of 10,000 cubic metres of ice per second. We don't have another 17 years to talk about whether or not we should or shouldn't do this. Remember, we will only ever experience what we are willing to pursue, so we have to make this happen if we actually want it to happen. And so, if we do not pursue this, it will not happen. We need you to take this seriously. We need you to finally stand up and be counted, because we can make this the most important thing in the world if we want to. All we need is your help, and then this will be the time it's going to happen. And we need to come together and stick together to make it happen. Help us to get the Global Shelf Ice Maker system up and running. We need to build the numbers up on this petition as soon as we can. We need you to act now and not wait for others to join. Please don't find excuses not to join. We all have to stand up and be counted on this one. We all have to commit to getting the Global Shelf Ice Maker system built as soon as possible. We need you to join us now and help us make it happen. Give us your support on the Climate Change Action Petition so we can get your word out there into this world, and to make sure that this world hears your voice. We need you to help us to pursue this goal of achieving the building of the Global Shelf Ice Maker system. Help us make the governments around the world sit up and listen and then actually do something about it by actually building the Global Shelf Ice Maker system. Join us now and help us make this happen. Just go to the globalshelficemakersystem.com, become a member, put your name on the Climate Change Action Petition, and then enjoy the rest of the website. And when you get your advertising package, make sure you use it effectively. Also, please tell your family and friends about this video as well. We need your help to spread the word about the Global Shelf Ice Maker system as fast as possible, because we don't have another 17 years to talk about whether or not we should or shouldn't do it. As a member, you will receive many benefits, including the ability to keep track of and follow the growing number of people from all around the world joining and helping to create a strong, united world voice to help get the one and only solution to rising sea levels underway, which is the Global Shelf Ice Maker system. And gradually, maybe one day in the near future, we will see nearly all of the population of the planet put their name on the Climate Change Action Petition and finally get this project, the Global Shelf Ice Maker system, started, so we can have a better future on this planet for everyone and stop rising sea levels once and for all. And to all the young people in this world, if you are a young person today, I want you to know that with your help, the future is going to be all right. Together we will be able to turn this world around and turn it into a place we will all be proud to be a part of. With your help and participation in getting the Global Shelf Ice Maker system up and running, you will be joining the greatest movement this world has ever seen for eliminating global warming, climate change and rising sea levels. As a member, you will not only be helping to save the planet for your future, you will also be helping to save the planet for the future of all generations, as well as all of life on this planet. We need to bring back the level of climate stability that we had way back in the 1950s, as well as the 10,000 years or so before that. In the bigger picture, it doesn't matter about net zero carbon emissions. It doesn't matter that the barn door is open. It only matters about fixing the problems of climate change that are causing the damage right now. We have to start using common sense. We have to start focusing on what is important and fix up the major problems of the melting ice in the Arctic and Antarctica. We have to get the politicians around the world to forget about trying to achieve net zero carbon emissions. We have to start using the only solution that can save the planet from rising sea levels. We need to build the global shelf ice maker system now, and we have to start convincing the governments to build it. There is no other way to save this planet from the devastation of climate change. Now I know some of you are saying that that's impossible. Well, let me tell you, not only must we do it, we are going to do it. We are going to build the global shelf ice maker system. I don't know when we're going to do it, I just know we are going to do it because there is no other way. So to make sure that the ones who say that these things can't be done, and to make sure that they don't get their way, what I'm going to do is to map out a very specific plan to follow so that we can put the ice back onto the shelves of the Arctic and Antarctica. In part 2, I will show you how it can be done and who should do it. I will explain it to you in absolute detail because it's clear no one else is even on this wavelength. And if you understand the need for this invention and you'd like to help and support me on my journey, help me to save the future of the world by joining as a member, because this will help me make it happen. And if you want to get involved personally, you can join the Elstat volunteers to help spread the word about the global shelf ice maker system. My name is David, and I'd like to thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you inside the members area. Bye for now.